What are some of the things maybe if he is ready to play that make him able to contribute pretty quickly?
I've been very pleased with Marvin. I think coming in that semester helped him a lot as far as learning the system. From a physical standpoint, obviously he had all those attributes prior to getting here. However, he has put on a lot more muscle since he's been here. From a technical standpoint, he was a pretty polished kid coming out of high school. So, I mean, he's he's stepped into a room with the opportunity, with a sense of confidence and understanding that, hey, you know what, I'm not just happy to be here, but I belong here. And he's gone out and practiced and played with that same type of swagger.
Okay, let's go to Eric Bailey of the Tulsa World, and then Joe Bettner. Eric?
Dennis, you guys have had really good leadership at the wide receiver position over the years. Does someone like Charleston Ramble assume that since you are so young at the position, or is there anyone else you really see in that role right now?
Well, we got several guys that are feel like that, it's their time in that role, in that role, and in the room. A lot of those guys are self-driven. So, when you talk about the leadership and things of that nature, we've had some guys here that have done some great things, and the guys that have been in that room that are currently still in that room have kind of watched and studied some of the things that they've done in order to achieve a lot of the success they had. So, I mean, you got a lot of guys that are out there, that are hungry, that are passionate, and want to be like their former buddies. So, you got a lot of guys in that room that are duplicating a lot of those day in and day out, day-to-day small steps to accomplish that goal and get to where they want to become.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, let's go to Joe Bettner of Norman Transcript, and then Jason Kersey. Joe?
Hey, Dennis. Alex mentioned earlier that there's a screen pass that kept him up last night. I'm curious, just from your perspective, how this offense is looking for you guys, especially early on in camp, how much rust there is, and where they are as far as having an off season where they didn't have the same amount of time as usual to prepare.
Well, you got to remember with your question, you're asking the offensive coach that question. So, I mean, to me, there's always work to be done, and there's things that we could always get a little bit better at every day. I do feel like the guys have, taken advantage and pretty much done everything within their power that we could ask of them doing their time away. But once again, that kind of goes back to, having that self drive and a goal and a purpose and a will to want to be good at your craft. So, I think they've done well in that aspect of it. And, is there some things that we need to tidy up? Of course. I think there's a lot of things that we need to tidy up. And, once again, you asking the offensive coach that. So, there's always going to be work to be done in our eyes.
Okay, let's go to Jason Kersey of The Athletic, and then Kerry Murdoch. Jason?
Yeah. Hey, Dennis. Is it better for a receiver room to have an alpha like a CD was last year, maybe DD was a few years ago? Or is it better to be more evenly distributed, or does that even matter?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, if you run your route the way you want to, I mean, the ball's going to find somebody. So, I mean, I think, the deeper you are, especially in a situation that we're dealing with right now, where, you have guys that, unfortunately, that may actually get the virus or the contact deal. I think, having a room full with talent is a good thing. But I think, kind of to loop back to the question early on the alpha dog and the leader, I think, everybody in that room should strive for wanting to have success and wanting to be the guy that ball comes to, on every play. If you're not that guy, then, I haven't done a very good job of evaluating you and bringing you into the fold of the room. So, I mean, you know, all of them cheer for each other and want to see everybody be successful. But, you know, in the same token, all of them want to be that guy that is, you know, achieving that success. So, I mean, I don't know if that truly answers your question as far as, you know, one guy versus many, but, you know, I guess from my standpoint, I want them all to have that mentality.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, Kerry Murdoch with Sooner Scoop and Sports Animal, and then James Hale. Kerry?
Hey, Dennis. I know Lincoln had told us, I hate saying I know exactly how many days ago it was, 95 days ago, about Jaden's Hazelwood's injury. I was curious, is he able to do much with you guys in a workout capacity, or is there a timeline for his return that you guys have gotten a feel for in these last few months?
Kerry, I don't talk about injuries. Next question.
Well, let me ask you, in terms of not having a spring, how much of a challenge has that been in, preparing some of the young guys that didn't get that? Or do you feel like maybe some of the Zoom stuff, some of the instruction, the extra instruction you got made up for that a little bit?
You know, not having a spring, we weren't able to get out there and get the physical aspect of it. But, you know, during these times, you know, much like yourself, everybody has to adjust. And I think our staff has done a wonderful job of adjusting with the situation and with the things that we had. So, I mean, I think we've done a great job from a mental aspect of preparing these guys on, you know, what their assignments are, what the concepts are, what is expected of them in the mental preparation of the game. And, you know, right now we're working on, you know, equally matching that from the physical standpoint and being out on the field.
I apologize for the first question.
Oh, no apology needed, man.
Thanks, Dennis.
No problem. Have a good
Okay,
day.
let's go to James Hale, KREF, and then Keegan Renault. James?
Hey, Dennis, nice to see you, man. You got a
Likewise.
scrimmage for the first time in months. How did that scrimmage go from an offensive standpoint? And who among your group did you feel like had a pretty good scrimmage and stood out to you?
You know, I thought there were several guys that made some key plays. To be honest with you, just being back out on the field and hearing pass clash and guys hitting was probably one of the bigger joys of that couple hour period that we had out there. You know, not to just single out one individual, because I thought there was, you know, several guys that, you know, walked away, reaffirmed, you know, your thinking or my thinking of, okay, you know, we made the right choice on going on this guy, and, you know, he's going to be able to help us. So there was several guys that fit that category. So apologize by not giving you just one name, but I would just say, you know, I was pleased with a lot of the things that the group did as a whole.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, we'll go to Keegan Renault with Sooners Wire, and then Joey Helmer. Keegan?
Yeah, Dennis, I'm just curious, what does Theo Howard bring to the table for you guys, and how big of an impact can he have for you guys this season?
Well, I mean, the season will tell how big of an impact he can have, but a lot of the things that he does bring to us is another guy with, you know, actual college game experience, you know, an older guy. So, I mean, he's going to have some wisdom and knowledge that he could spread to, you know, some of the younger guys. And then he's just, you know, he's a talented young man that, you know, once again, with the current situation it is in college athletics, I mean, it gives you another athletic, talented young man in your room where, you know, you have plenty of tools in the shed to be able to work with.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, Joey Helmer with OU Insider, and then Lee Benson.
Yeah, this is Dennis, going to be the fourth different quarterback in 4 years. I'm just wondering from a chemistry standpoint with your guys and the quarterbacks, kind of how that connection has come along.
It's been fine. I mean, you know, to be quite honest with you, I mean, we hear this question every year. Our job is to catch the ball. It doesn't matter who throws it. I mean, you can put Snoopy back there. If he's throwing it, it's our job to make the throw right and to catch it and advance the football. So, you know, who that guy's going to be, we really don't care. You know, that's other people's decisions to make. Our job is to make them right, execute our assignment, get our depths on our routes, and get open when we need to get open.
Okay, Lee Benson with KWTV, and then Parker Thune. Lee?
Coach, in recent years in this offense, we've seen receivers like CD and Marquise and DD, just to name a few, really make jumps from year one to year two. And I think you have some guys that might be candidates for that on your roster and your group. Just curious, what do you think there are guys that are able to make those jumps from year one to year two in this particular offense, why that happens?
I think just from a conceptual standpoint, the game slows down for them. So you're able to see, their natural athletic ability, on display. Another thing too is, they're understanding and able to react off of situations as far as, defensive coverages and zones. So I think, it kind of slows down for them. They're able to react quicker, and then their natural God-given ability is able to kick in and be on display.
Okay, Parker Thune with SI Sooners, and then Bob Prisbillo. Parker?
Hey, Dennis. I know you already touched on Theo Howard, but just kind of curious. Obviously, you got multiple transfers in that room, including Obi Obialo. Just what are your goals for them heading into the year, and then how have they stepped up to mentor some of the younger guys in that room?
I mean, our goal is, first and foremost, is to get them comfortable and understanding what we do here, both offensively and in our expectation here as a receiver. How have they performed and how have they handled that situation? If you're asking me my personal opinion, I would praise both of those guys. I think they've done a wonderful job. They're both by nature good quality young men. So, being a good teammate is not something that was a stretch or a pull for them. Had that been the case, they probably, never would have gotten here. So to answer your question, they both are doing a good job. They both have been a positive influence in our program, and our expectations for them is equally high as it is for everyone else that's in the program.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, Bob Prisbillo with Sooner Scoop.
Yeah, Dennis, it was only one night, that first game at Baylor, but what did that mean for Theo Weiss, and what kind of gains and improvements has he shown here during the first couple weeks of camp?
Well, I mean, I thought he had a good night that night. I thought he had a good night even in the Sugar Bowl when he got his opportunity to play in there. He made a couple of nice plays. But, I mean, that actual game time experience has probably reaffirmed his confidence level and let him know that, just like I was an imposing, dominant player on the high school level, I can continue to do that here in college.
Okay, we've been able to rifle through these questions on my list here pretty fast. Does anyone else have any more questions?
I have one.
Keegan?
Ready?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what leaps or what do you want to see out of Charleston Rambo from last year to this year to really being that the dominant Z receiver that you guys have had over the past couple of years?
Just consistency. You're talking about a kid that, the first half of the season was actually leading our team in reception. So, I mean, if you do it one half, you could do it the other half. And it's just, him continuing to be Charleston and just be the best Charleston he could be. I'm not asking him to be CD. I'm not asking him to be Marquise. I'm not asking him to be DD. I need him to be Charleston. And I think he understands that, all four of those guys have, special gifts and different skill sets and different talents. And, he needs to be consistent and play at a level to where he can showcase his. And I think if he does that, the next year you guys will be asking me about, well, do you have another Z that's going to be like Charleston?
Thanks, Coach.
I've got one if I can.
Go ahead, James.
Dennis, you have outside guys, inside guys. I'm curious in recruiting, when you look for guys, do you have it in mind who's going to be an outside guy or inside guy, or does that play itself out once they get to you?
I mean, in all honesty, we're looking for good football players that happen to play receiver position. I mean, if you really break down and look at since he just said his name, a guy like Charleston Rambo.
Right.
Charleston played outside receiver for us last year, but also Charleston was, one of the leading tacklers on our kickoff team.
Right.
He also played gunner on punt team,
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, he's showcasing his talent and value that kid's a good football player. You look at a guy, like a Trazen Bridges. Trazen Bridges played both outside receiver, inside receiver, played a stand at corner, also played on our kickoff team and made the first tackle of the game of the season last year. So, I mean, we're looking for good football players that play receiver.
Thanks.
Okay, any more questions?
Mike, I'll throw one at him if it's cool.
Hi, Garen.
Hey, Dennis. I take it's been no different for coaches. The emotion swings of the last 4 or 5 months through everything that's gone on. How's it been for you? I mean, there been days where you've gotten up thinking, I don't see how we're going to play, where you turn around 24 hours later and you feel hopeful about things? Just give us some insight into where your head and your gut have been.
I mean, in all honesty, my personality, I honestly try to not focus on the things that I can't control. And that's one of those situations that I don't have a dog in that fight. I can't control. The only thing I can control is my actions and, my family and my players. And I've been so, engulfed with making sure that, my players are understanding what is expected of them, taking care of their classes, if they have any personal issues, my family doing the same thing I haven't really had much time to sit down and be like, okay, well, are we playing or are we not? I mean, coaches and players, we're routine regiment people by nature. This time of year, by routine, we're practicing, getting ready to play. So that's where my mind is, if we're ready, then we don't have to get ready. So my mental focus and my mental, objective about the whole thing is let's get ready to prepare to play a season. If somebody comes in, with the powers that be and say that we can't, then you know what, that's not out of my control, and then we'll adjust and deal with it then. But, there's, between recruiting and our players here and personal family and the rest of my coaching brothers on staff. I mean, there's been a lot of other things that consume my time than honestly focusing on, okay, are we going to play today or we're not? I mean, I don't get wrapped up into that.
Thanks.
We've got to start to wrap up here. Anything else for Coach Simmons?
Get me now, because you promised you that they might not get me again.
I'll jump in if you don't mind, Mike. Dennis, you talked about kind of all the things that are keeping you busy. I'm curious, with the dead period being as long as it has been, is that added more to your plate in recruiting, or does it kind of allow you to focus on your team a little bit more, your players?
No, I mean, I think it kind of adds more because it gives you more time to really search and evaluate and make sure you're doing a thorough job of trying to find, where that talent or where that next talent is. I feel bad for the prospects because they're not able to physically get an opportunity to see campuses. I guess this shows my age of how old I am. Being able to get out and touch, see, smell, and feel things and buildings and places and shake hands and look a guy in the eye and know if he's being genuine with you or not. So I think, I feel bad for the prospects from that aspect, but, we're adjusting from the coach's standpoint. And to me, really we're catching up with the kids in this aspect of it as far as the technology and the Zoom. I mean, 99.9% of the time, my players, when, we're not meeting and doing something, their faces to their phone anyway. So the whole Zoom thing is, was something that I had to adjust and catch up with them more so than they're having to catch up and adjust to us. But, phone calls, texts, and making those communications. I mean, you're not out actually physically traveling to cities to do it, but so now you're having to, try to do it by virtual meetings or a phone call and getting that information. So, I mean, it hadn't really lightened up, per se. It's just forced you to find different ways to try to get the information that you would have been able to do had you, say for me, been in Houston and able to drive by a particular school or something of that nature.
Has there been anybody on the staff that you've been like, wow, he's really gotten good at using technology through all this stuff?
You know what? I guess I would call myself out on that one. No, I think we all have, we got a pretty youthful staff. So, I mean, we don't have any guys over on our staff that's, really just afraid or have a technology phobia.
Coach Grinch said he yells at monitors a lot, so I was wondering maybe if that wasn't him.
Well, we're coaches. We yell at everything a lot. That's just a different way of expressing our love and having conversation.